Well, welcome to Conversations on Christianity, where we have conversations on Christianity. Today is a very special Conversations on Christianity because I have three guests, two of whom I'm almost certain have not been on Conversations on Christianity. John and Chris, is this true? Have you ever been?
I have not.
Okay. No, because I know that Kip, you did this during the interim.
Right.
And so you did some of these, but welcome, John, and welcome, Chris. Very glad that you guys are joining us today. Today we are doing something a little different. Usually we have some outside guests come in, but today we're just going to have a pastor's roundtable. A little plug here: in a few weeks, we will be rolling out an Advent devotional and an Advent podcast. And each one of us will be taking one of those podcasts and writing one of those devotionals. So be on the lookout for that. But today I wanted to kind of do a kickoff to Advent because we are just a few weeks away from Advent. So today we're going to be talking about making the most of Advent, and we're just going to have a conversation on that. You guys ready to go?
Yeah, I just feel a little weird because I thought you guys said it was an ugly sweatshirt, and
Yeah.
I'm the only one. Of course, I have a beautiful, ugly sweatshirt, but
How well did they do this last year, Kip?
yeah, let's move on.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. All right, so let's. I want to start off because Advent is something that we, especially in a liturgical church, liturgical tradition, the Lutheran Church, we celebrate Advent every year. But I'm guessing there are probably some folks who are listening to this, some folks in our congregation who don't know that much about Advent. They just know it's what we do every year. So let's start with just talking about some of the background and the history of Advent. And Kip, I think that you might be a good person to get us started on where Advent comes from because it's not in the Bible, right?
I'm that old that I would go all the way.
All the way back to the beginning of Advent. Yes, yes, yes. Because Advent is not in the Bible. Like the word Advent, at least the way that we use it as a season, is not in Scripture. So, can you give us a little bit of a history?
I think Advent, just like most things that happen in the church, it kind of morphs over time, and it's one of these things that'll continue to morph over time, but it always was kind of seen as, I don't know, maybe like a little mini Lent in preparation for Christmas, being a 4-week period where you prepare for a major festival that's coming up. And I think one of the ironic things is Advent originally had a lot to do with fasting, and we do anything
Yeah,
but
right. Yes.
fasting during our Advent moving toward Christmas. So I think that spiritual awareness, but the thing that makes it different than Lent is Advent is all about waiting and pondering and um, preparing our hearts for something coming, as opposed to kind of theme of repentance and things that we get in Lent. Both have a spiritual focus, but slightly different.
And Advent is a word that means arrival, right? And so, yeah, this idea of prepping. Why do you know why? I mean, maybe you don't. I'm just curious. Do you know why it was 4 weeks?
My guess would be that it has something to do possibly with the Feast of St. Nicholas, which I believe is
December
December
6th.
5th or 6th.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you look at that time period and it's pretty close. Um, it's all a part of a liturgical calendar, and Advent, crazy enough for a lot of people, it's the beginning of the church year.
Mhm.
It's not the end of the year, it's the beginning, and most people are winding down as they hit December, and church liturgical calendar is actually starting in Advent, which I don't know the answer to that one either.
Yeah, you don't know why we did that? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. I've always thought it was curious that we start our liturgical year with waiting. Like, that's a really interesting, it isn't the celebration doesn't come for 4 weeks once the year starts. It actually starts with this, like you said, a season of preparation. And, way back, it was really a focus on fasting. And I think, as I was kind of rereading and doing some research for this, it was in the Catholic world, it wasn't until Vatican II. So, whatever that was, 80 years ago or 60 years ago, whatever it was, that's when they stopped having repentance and fasting be the focus for the Catholic Church. I think for us as Lutherans, it started back in Luther's time. I think the Reformation, they changed a lot too, for Advent. But yeah, it's interesting that we just start the year off by waiting. I guess I'm curious to hear from you guys, why do you think it's important that we have seasons like Lent or Advent where we intentionally don't celebrate as feasting wise, but a season of fasting and anticipation rather than celebration. Why is that important? Not just in Advent, but I mean just kind of in general.
I can kind of shoot on that a little bit. So I think it's fascinating that, Christianity really doesn't tie in a little bit to Christmas leading at the end of Advent is the fact that they really didn't in Christianity celebrate birthdays. That it took quite a while, about 336, before they even started recognizing the Nativity Festival, which is around Jesus's birth. That they decided that that was the time they wanted to celebrate that. And some of the scholars of the time thought that December 25th was as good a date as any. So there really isn't any pagan overlap to our December 25th, as many people think. It's a wholly Christian idea to pick that date, but it also is that time where you start to receive more light again. So I think it's kind of neat. So the preparation to that time period in our calendar where the light starts coming back again and adding in, I thought was a neat idea to build up. So the darkest time of the year, literally, is the time you prepare for that new light. So I could see without an Xbox or Netflix and you just sat around the campfire all winter long inside that you don't think deeply about such things and think, we're really excited. I'm already sick of going home in the dark after work. I can't wait for the light to come back. So the idea for me of connecting this time of the year to expecting the light, that's kind of neat. So I think with Advent, I can kind of get where they went there. So it's preparation. What are we doing now to get ready for that new light to come through? And when it's your darkest times, what do we do? What are the spiritual disciplines we do in the darkness, in the worst time of the year? And so fasting and reading scripture and memorizing and spending more time with family and focusing on what Jesus is about to bring in with his birth seems to make sense if you think of it in those terms. So that's why I think Advent's important, and also why I think they kind of started that old tradition. So, and why those fasting and scripture reading is cool in the darkest time of the year, literally.
Yeah.
Darkest time of the year. So I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
For me, I would go from like even just a cultural standpoint nowadays. My wife, post Thanksgiving, our calendar is booked. I mean, not just with church stuff, but to go here and see this or to go there and do that. Like, we don't pause until like December 26th. And then we get 1 week of pause. And then it's like, okay, life's picking back up. School's back in session for her and for Scarlett. Family life is busy again. And so I think when we can intentionally slow down a little bit, at least at home, then it just makes it a little bit easier for us. I mean, we can remember those foundations. We can remember even the darkest times we've had and anticipating Jesus to do miracles or do something. We can remember those and reflect on those. We can reflect on what God has done in our family in the last year, since we've been married, even over the course of our life. We can look at families around us and we can really begin to speak into them, because we do take, even in the hustle bus of going and seeing Christmas lights and going to Christmas shows and going to Christmas pageants, like we can still take a small pause as a family and be like, okay, let's remember why we're celebrating Christmas. Let's remember all the earthly stuff is fun. It's cool. We love the Grinch. We love all those things. But if my daughters like the Grinch more than like Christmas more because of the Grinch, then we've done something wrong. So we take that time to intentionally pause and say, okay, now why are we celebrating Advent? Why are we celebrating Christmas? It's because of Jesus, not all these other things. So,
And I think as Americans, we're just really bad at it. I mean, I order something on Amazon and it's like, ooh, they can deliver it this afternoon.
Yeah, right.
Right. And then wait, this is going to take 2 weeks to get here or 2 days to get. What's wrong with Amazon? And so we're just really kind of bad at waiting. So I think developing that spiritual discipline is probably beneficial for all of us in the long run.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely seems like we have and I don't think it's as modern as maybe, I don't know. It feels like every year people are like, Christmas starts earlier than it ever has. But I kind of like, I think if you go back and look within the last 120 years, like really Christmas does kind of start, or the Christmas celebrations really do start after Halloween. You know what I mean? It's been that way for a long time. So I don't think it's that new. but we have really condensed and even muddled the kind of the Advent time of expectation, where we just, like you mentioned, we just kind of start celebrating right away, and it's just celebration, 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 and so
It gets run over.
and Advent gets run over, yeah, and so I agree with you guys. I think it is important for us to be intentional about slowing down because we're so bad at it, because we're not good at it.
I've always wanted to do this, and someday I will, but I've said that I'm going to do it so many times it won't have the same impact.
He's just too busy.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
but some Advent, when it's time to preach, I'm just going to sit there. And just sit there. And sit there and really make people uncomfortable with, why isn't he up there doing what he's supposed to be doing? And then get up and talk about how uncomfortable waiting can be,
Oh yeah.
because we want to get to it and move on.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus is saying,
Yeah.
slow down.
Yeah, and I think that connects to the Old Testament prophecies leading up to Jesus, where we see in especially things like Isaiah, we pull a lot of our Advent and Christmas passages out of Isaiah, out of these prophecies. And, for them, they probably were thinking this is going to happen imminently, like soon this is going to happen. But the Lord is much more patient than we are, and he's just letting, he lets it kind of grow and fester in them, this desire before he actually brings it about. And yeah, I think that humans just in general, we're just bad at being willing to wait for something. And I mentioned this in a sermon a few weeks ago, but my boys and I are reading the Chronicles of Narnia right now, and it's amazing. If you have not read them, you should. They're great. But there is the last book that we just finished, called The Dawn Treader. Lucy, one of the human girls who is from our world, gets sent back to Narnia, and they have this grand adventure, and it's her and her brother Edmund and their cousin Eustace, and at one point they finally meet Aslan, or she finally meets Aslan. She's by herself at this point in the story, and she meets Aslan, and she asks Aslan, will I see you again soon? And Aslan says, for me, all times are soon. Because Aslan is the Jesus figure, and the Lord just doesn't see time the same way that we do. And he is much more patient to let things roll out than we are. We're in such a rush to have the payoff that we want. But yeah, the Lord is just willing to, from a human perspective, it feels quite unfair, but it isn't. I mean, because the Lord is good and he knows exactly what we need. And he's willing to just let us sit in that discomfort or sit in the waiting for a while, because he knows that's the best thing. That's the best thing for us. And that's exactly what Advent is.
Things that can happen.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Because Advent, and I do want to bring this up, because I forgot to bring it up earlier. When we talk about Advent, historically, there have been two aspects of it. One is, if you look at like the lectionary readings that the church kind of collected and put together for Advent over, whatever that was, 1,000 years as they were kind of doing this, the readings kind of coincide. There's readings preparing for the birth of Jesus, but also readings preparing for his second coming. And so it also teaches us to be patient with his second coming as well, because we're in the spot that the Israelites were, where we have all these prophecies, we know what's coming, and we're just like, when is this going to happen? And he's kind of forcing us to practice waiting in that through Advent. So I want to transition now, and talk a little bit about practicing Advent for ourselves, for our families, some of these things. Like we talked about, we start celebrations right away. And I think that my pastoral impulse is to say, like, I don't want to tell people, hey, you shouldn't celebrate during Advent. Like, to me, that feels a little silly, especially because doing Advent practices are not commanded in Scripture, right? They're not something that the Lord says you have to do this. It's a way for our souls to be disciplined and our souls to be worked out, to become more Christ-like. So we have all these celebrations, but also we have this this aspect of intentionally waiting. So I want to hear from you guys. Um, how do you think about all the busyness of Christmas versus intentionally waiting? You spoke to that a little bit, but maybe even give us some like details on like how you do that or how that's been meaningful to you.
Well, sure. So this was always a big time of year for me. Mostly what I was in is marketing in my life. So I usually supplied the machine that is Christmas when it comes to presents and buying and all these pieces. So they didn't give us many days off. And Christmas was one of the only days I was able to be with my family synced up throughout all those years. And military, I was still able to get back for Christmas. And so that day became a special time. I know we're not talking about Christmas, but when it came to the Advent season leading up and preparing for those days, getting that time, I learned very quickly how precious that time of year is because I didn't have much time with them. You know, I was always working or having to work nights and weekends off of them. And so for me in particular, those holidays became something very valuable. So I think we're a little more intentional than I think many others are because 27 years ago or so, I really made it a plan to stop more when I was together with them during this time of year, and they knew it. And to spend that time with everything off and just talking about sort of our relationships and also including in us this understanding of we have these scripture readings that we do, and we memorize scripture. Believe it or not, I know that sounds like an odd thing to do, but this time of year that was one of our ways. We would each pick a set of little scriptures this time of year, and we would put it to memory. And it's kind of odd, but it was one of those practices I had picked up, and you know, each one kind of has their own, and then they became an expert on these types of things. So for us, it was we dedicated time, and I never did this the rest of the year. I feel not regret, but I probably should have done this more than just that time of year, but because I wanted to spend that time with them. And so we dedicated extra time just to be by ourselves together, and we would memorize scripture this time of year. So that was one of the interesting variants in that, because that causes you to slow down when you have to memorize something, and it makes it intentional. So I don't know if that was torture or that was whatever, but they remember those verses though. Which is odd, and so do I. So that was the time. So a little more special for us, and we'd slow down a little more than others because I was part of the machine that created the speed. So interesting stuff. What do you got?
Well, I can't help but think back to COVID and one of the backhanded blessings of COVID, and I'm not promoting COVID and saying it's a great thing, but everything literally stopped its tracks, and everybody had this opportunity to just kind of reevaluate life and say, why are we just running from here to there all the time? And this is just kind of nice. But you know, it's just like all things. Eventually, we just slid right back in, filling every nook and cranny with something, you know. And so I'm always leery of when we talk about Advent or Lent disciplines and that type of thing, of people going, oh, one more thing to do. So I like to talk more about replacement as opposed to adding something. And so one thing that Sherry and I did this last year, and this is going to become our Lenten thing every year, is instead of binge watching the latest Netflix show that, you know, we just watch, we substituted with The Chosen. And so every year we're going to watch The Chosen. And so I'm thinking Advent will do something like that too. We'll look for Christian-themed Christmas programs, and there's one on Netflix, I think it came out last year, called Mary, that I've not seen yet. I'm always leery of promoting things that I've never seen. That's one that I'm going to check out and see if it fits. But you know, there's all kinds of them out there that have religious themes, and so that's one thing that we're planning on, or at least I'm planning on doing. I think they'll join and watch it with me. I got the remote control.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm probably not the best person to ask on this. I joked with you. I'm sure we'll talk about the decoration part later. But like just going back to my childhood, we never had any elaborate Advent or Christmas things. We never did much. And so as soon as Scarlett was born, I mean, she was born in January, and we're already looking at Christmas like, man, this is going to be exciting.
Mm.
And so I guess there was like, 11 months of waiting there to get there. But so one, we're bad. I'll just admit it.
Mhm.
We jump right into celebration. I mean, to look at, I don't know how many years I'm going to be able to have them ooh and ah over all the Christmas stuff. But the fact that I get to be a kid right alongside of my two little girls doing this, like, we're all in. I mean, we'll go driving at night just to look at Christmas lights. We'll go here, we'll go there, we'll go, I mean, within about a 45-minute drive window. So I guess even though we're doing the celebration, and that comes back to, I think, what you said, our schedules, just as pastors, are fairly busy. Our family schedules are hectic. I mean, just everybody's schedule is hectic anymore. So even sitting there and going to Scooters and getting a hot chocolate and driving around and having snacks in the car, like, there's still something like we
Yeah.
gotta have we sing songs, we joke, we tell stories. We hear Scarlett yelling something from the back, the very back, trying to get our attention or to show us something. And so maybe it's actually a really good thing that we do it, because we do pause and have that family time, even though we're running, it seems hectically. But man, yeah, this year it's like, soon as it was like the Sunday after Halloween, it was warm again. Like, all the Halloween decorations went down, and I mean, stuff just started coming out, and we're in full celebration mode right now. What we do though is, and I don't think many people realize this, that I think a long time ago, like, the children's books around Advent and Christmas were probably like extremely corny, maybe not well done. And they have so many
Yeah.
books out there nowadays. I just received one the other day. It's called Itsy Bitsy Christmas. It's a Max Lucado. It talks about how nobody's too small for the love of Jesus. And I think it's about a mouse. I haven't even read it yet. It looked good. It was on sale, so I bought it. But here pretty soon, like the day after Thanksgiving, we'll put all the Thanksgiving books away, and we have like 2 or 3 totes of Christmas books. I'll lug those all the way upstairs. And then for 30 days, we are in the midst of just reading stuff that's age appropriate for a 4-year-old, a 5-year, 4 or 5-year-old, and about a 1-year-old. And so we spend every day doing that. There's days that we're driving, and every time we drive by the East Campus, Scarlett uh, wants to stop and see the Nativity. So, like, we have to, no matter the time of day, we take about a half hour out of our day, and we'll go in there. All the lights are off, everything's off, and we'll just go in, and she'll get to look at the nativity and talk about each character, and then we kind of unfold that a little bit. So maybe it's not so bad we're doing some celebrating, because she's getting, I guess, maybe an extra in-depth look at Christmas and that Advent time. So maybe as I'm talking myself into it, it doesn't seem as bad as it did at the beginning. But
Yeah.
I would say that just the family time is the big one, and then books that reflect what this season's all about.
Yeah, because I don't think having a full schedules they're gonna happen during Christmas. You know what I mean? Because you just have so many friends and family having parties, get-togethers, all that kind of stuff. Like it, that's inevitable, and I don't think that that's something that we need to. I don't think it's something that we need to say no to. At least not entirely. Like, obviously, if someone's schedule is like way too packed and they're stressing out about it, like, that's not good for them. But it really is like I I want my family and I to know how to wait well, but I also want us to know how to celebrate well. And if Advent has morphed now into a time where we kind of do those things back and forth or side to side a little bit, like I think that that's okay, um, because um, we we already kind of have a natural rhythm with the seasons. Like when it's nice out and bright out during the summer, like most people, like our kids stay up a little bit later. We're outside a lot more. Even the music that we listen to, a lot of times we just have music playing in our house and it's very like upbeat. This summer it's been like the Forrest Frank summer. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Just like upbeat music, like exciting music. And we've always, like, when the seasons start to change, like, even things like our music choice starts to change, like, what we're listening to changes, we start listening to, um, music that is a little bit more, Christmas and Advent themed from artists that we like, and so even just that of, like, putting that into our heads kind of all the time. Our house is usually darker during the winter just because it's darker outside, and we don't usually have all of our, you know, lights on in our house. We kinda keep it, um, we kinda keep it a little bit darker just in general. The food that we eat changes, it's not lots of the fresh vegetables and fruits. It's a lot more of, like, soups and those kinds of things, like, and to me, all of that plays into the rhythms of the seasons changing and that kinda thing. But when it comes to Christmas in particular, something that we've did since who's our oldest, he was really little, we started celebrating St. Nicholas Day because my wife and I were kind of like trying to figure out how to uh make sure that Christmas Day itself wasn't just about the presents. And so we were like, well, we'll do presents on that December 6th or 5th, whatever it is, to make the presents at Christmas, like, less special. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not a pinnacle anymore. Like, they're kind of getting presents throughout. Like, we did a Lego advent calendar one year. So, like, every day they're getting some sort of toy, right? Because we're like, well, I mean, obviously that means that we didn't give them as much at Christmas Day. So we were trying to, like, help them also, just being children, kind of like deconstruct their own excitement about toys on Christmas Day. And so we've been doing that, and we really enjoy that. We use it's the old German tradition of, like, leaving your shoes outside overnight. That's where we get our stockings from, the Christmas tradition of stockings. And so our kids will put their shoes outside our front door, and we have a St. Nicholas book that we read to them that night, and then they come out in the morning, they have little toys stuffed in their shoes. We try to integrate some of those things just to help do that refocus, right? And so that it's not so that Christmas itself becomes about the incarnation, like about Jesus being born, a little bit less than just all the excitement of, like, presents, that kind of stuff. Our family does not live here in town, and so um, we have a built-in. We Something that we like about that is that even before we lived here, we were up in the upper Midwest, 8 hours away from our families, and so Christmas Day was always for us, and, like, Christmas Day was really slow for our family, because there wasn't just the hustle and bustle of trying to get to this place or go to that house or do all this. Like, we really just kept it real quiet for us, and I really enjoyed that. So I think it really is more just about bringing in those moments of slowing down, um, yeah, those moments that you can help it be refocused on Jesus, what he did, not on all the extra stuff, even though that is good.
So when it comes to I have pretty big shoes, by the way. So
Yes.
I don't know how you. Yeah,
What do you put in size 50? Yeah, well, it'd probably be a little packet of Legos. Yeah, shoved into the toes. Yeah.
To presents, I always, I had to think deeply about this just recently. The presents, how well presents fit Advent. Now, the materialistic garbage that's inside of it, that's a different discussion. So I like to separate that. Just think of the present, the wrapped present itself. So it's a mystery. It's this mystery that is coming, that you have to be patient to get. So if you wrap that present up, and they don't really know what's in there, that they're expectantly waiting for this thing that they have to wait weeks to get to. It's very Advent-ish.
Yes.
The idea of the present itself. So just spending 4 weeks. So, to be honest with you, if you can get that present out right at Advent, when Advent begins, and your family, your kids, or have to stew on this thing that's underneath it, you probably hand knit yourself some gloves. I know Chris likes to knit. So maybe blankets, belts, and scarves.
It might be, but whatever. Careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, Advent and presents, just the tradition itself can really fit, because your kids, your family have to learn how to expectantly wait and stew as Jesus coming in that excitement and the possible future that comes in. So I don't think presents. I like the idea of presents there. I like your tradition though. I have a big shoe, so I am.
Yeah.
Or how you do it.
So I think the three of us, we just take on the night before, we just
Put our shoes over there.
at Eric's house, and
I'll
Sarah, there's gonna be 3 extra sets of shoes coming.
I'll tell you what, boys. There's stuff in my house I will gladly put into your shoes to get out of my
I
house.
want a George Megard gift.
No, it's regifting. It's just it's recycling.
That was George Megard. I mean, you always got his stuff. So 2 quick things. If you have a teenager or an upper elementary, probably boy in your class, I can't wait to see what they think of Erik doing this just a few minutes ago. So if you know, you know. Second, have you ever watched I know you have, and you guys, you should definitely get Glenn one of these. Even just the chocolate advent calendar.
Oh yeah.
You want to talk about impatiently waiting? So Scarlett, like, we are running behind in the morning on December 1st or, December 2nd through Christmas Eve. And we are consistently running behind for school, for daycare, for whatever. And she throws the biggest fit because we cannot open the advent calendar till both mommy and daddy are home. And one of us will already be out the door. And I mean, the first thing that happens when one of us gets home is, where's that advent calendar? So we do a chocolate one because a lady gave us one a couple of years ago, and so now we have to do that every year. But then we did like the Lego one, a Lego princess one, I think it was, and this year I think it's a Wicked one or whatever. And so, but man, Scarlett, she gets so irritated in the mornings, and then she gets so irritated right when we get home because that thing is just tempting her. And just standing there, she'll go get the box and she'll stare at it. She'll point out the number. I mean, it's kind of comical to watch, but it's just really a reflection of what we are.
Yeah, right.
I've dug through all my Christmas gifts. When Alyssa leaves the house and I know that they're, she's like, well, don't look over here. I bought Christmas gifts for you. First thing I do is like throw something over there.
Yeah.
Oh, what's over there? We impatiently wait for things. So maybe that's a good idea. Maybe we should all just put up our trees the day after Thanksgiving.
Yes, or earlier, right, Chris?
No, not the tree.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Depending on the weather, the outdoor decorations. Possibly.
Okay. All right.
But maybe we should the day after Thanksgiving. This year it's on like the 27th or 28th. So on the 29th, we all make sure all of our stuff's ready, and we have all those gifts ready to go. Just sit there and just all of us to stare at. And maybe it's like a social experiment.
Wait.
Maybe it's a social experiment. We say, who can make it to the 25th?
Yeah, I was going to say, John, I think it's been a few years since you had little kids in your house. If you had the presents out.
We did that.
Really.
But then you get to see all the human nature comes out.
Yes.
Do that because we try to do that because, again, I was absent a lot. So we tried to do it early. And so that would be there, but just watching the kids try and use an X-Acto knife.
Yeah, right.
All the human frailty in the world comes out, and my wife is the worst of all, right? So my wife would be the worst at not wanting to know what's in the box.
Yeah, right.
Hey, probably should put a precursor at the beginning of this that said, if you're a pastor's wife of a pastor at Lutheran Church of the Master, just don't listen.
Yeah. So yeah, it's fascinating how certain traditions that we have, but it can always go extreme, right? You can just put too much into that. But the whole idea of Advent and expectantly waiting for something you're not exactly sure what it is, but you think it's good, it kind of fits.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's good. Yeah, because I do want to take a little side note here, and I'll let you guys speak to this too, because you referenced it, that there is a kind of materialistic and consumer overtaking of presents and all that kind of stuff, and I do think that people overdo the emphasis on that quite often. But as we've talked about already, like the presents themselves are part of the whole thing. I mean, there's a reason that there came a tradition of you getting treats and sweets and gifts on Christmas Day, right? Because it is a celebration. It's a celebration of the birth of Jesus, and it is good for us to celebrate that, to have these presents and to have the treats and it's a feast day, and the feast is an opposite of a fast. Like, feast is like whatever, like you get to enjoy what you want. You get to have as much of the hot chocolate and candies as you want on that day because it's a feast. It's special. But it can be overdone. So I do want to let you guys have an opportunity, just kind of like putting on your pastor hat for a little bit for our congregation, help us think through gifts and how to handle some of that materialistic and consumer overthrow of the season.
I think trying to have your family have opportunities to see those who are without.
Hmm.
I know going down and helping serve a meal at Open Door Mission or things like that. Sherry used to take our older kids to Nebraska Children's Home and see kids that just don't have. Have your kids participate in going and buying Project Angel Tree gifts and explaining what you're doing and why you're doing this. We're going to be, as a congregation, have an opportunity on the 21st of December to go to the Dana Village and serve about 90 people that are low-income elderly or
Yeah, wow.
people that aged out of the foster care system, serve a meal and hopefully sing Christmas carols and all that kind of stuff, and just give part of ourselves. So, yeah, you were saying your house is not a good example. You would die at our house on Christmas. Things do not slow down. 5:30, Santa Claus usually is making loud noises as he's leaving our house, and we have most of the family at our house and grandkids running downstairs and adults videotaping, and then we lunch in, and then we have breakfast and we eat hot dogs for breakfast. And
Is this a Tyler family tradition? Where does this come
it's
from?
actually a Jones tradition on my wife's side of the family. That her family was poor, didn't really have much when they were growing up, and so they ate processed meat once a year, and they got hot dogs,
Wow.
processed meat, and that was at Christmas. And they would have it in the morning for breakfast with eggs and toast, and so we still have hot dogs as a part of that lineage of our family, and
Yeah, wow.
tell the story again to the grandkids all about it. But the feasting part, I love cooking, and I love cooking for my family to the point it almost kills me. I mean, I preach all those services and sing "O Holy Night" 11 o'clock, and then I'm cooking turkey and everything else.
That is all morning.
Smoking
meat, ABR. Christmas Eve, and
I just love it. I love doing that stuff. But man, when Christmas afternoon hits, I am dead to the wind. If I somehow stay awake during that whole time, it's nothing short of miraculous. So I think for I'd have rebellion at my house if we just said, okay, we're not, that would not happen. But to counterbalance it with those type of opportunities, I think is really, really important to see those who do not and be able to give of yourself to others. I think is really important.
We equally do a poor job of celebrating too, as Lutherans. That's one of our sentimentalities of, it's good, but it can always be worse. We oftentimes don't celebrate like we should. So I'm with you there, and you're a balance. I think we do need to celebrate. It is a celebration time. The angels did open up with the shepherds. This is something to sing about. This is an important event. We should be celebrating the entry of light into the world, right? So I do think we do need to celebrate, but absolutely need to remember what we're celebrating.
Yeah.
I think what's great about this time of year, but what also stinks about this time of year, it's like the one time of year outside of a government shutdown that we spend intentionally thinking about other people. I mean, here pretty soon, if they're not out already, every time you go to a grocery store or Walmart, you'll hear the bells ringing. Or every time you go into one of those stores, you'll see an opportunity to give, or, I don't even know, you tried listing them all out on Sunday during your Christmas sermon
Right.
in November, talk about Christmas coming too early, but, and I don't even think you were able to hit them all, and you weren't able to hit them in and you weren't even able to hit them in great detail. So the great thing is, like, you can serve, there's so many easy ways to serve with your family. Going grocery shopping and buying a few more things for the pantry in your church. picking up a couple angel trees. Now this year we're picking up 2. And we try to find one that's about Maisie. We'll try to find one that's about Maisie's age. And of course, we can hold up 2 outfits and she can look at them, but can't really participate. But we look at one, we'll get one that's about Scarlett's age, and that's a girl if possible. By the way, it's a great thing if you can be at the Saturday night service because you get the first pick
Yeah, that's right.
of the angel tree. But and now it's fun because she picks. And like you said, we get to talk to her about, hey, this little girl has a mommy or daddy who's in jail, who they might not have a good Christmas. And this is one way that we can make sure that that girl has a good Christmas. And, I say it all the time with the pantry too. If we can fulfill a physical need, then perhaps people will be open to hearing, to seeing their spiritual need be fulfilled. And so, or an Operation Christmas Child box. When we pack those at church and we do a packing event and our families can be there, I have more fun just walking with Scarlett because, well, her favorite color is blue. So she'll pick out blue underwear or a blue toy or a blue wash rag or a blue toothbrush. And it's fun to see her mind work. And then you can tell her at the end of the day, like, hey, by the way, that was fun, but there's a real purpose behind it. So I think even in the busyness where we've been talking about, we can still do stuff together intentionally as a family and help those out. I mean, the Open Door Mission, they're always looking for food and always looking for clothing and donations. Project Hope is. I mean, it's just, you go online, it's Giving Tuesday here pretty soon. And then you have this and that. I mean, there's so many things we can do together as a family. And even we made it easy that a lot of these have Amazon wish lists. I mean, you can scroll through your phone. Our daughter knows how to get on Amazon on our phone, and she knows, so we can even shop from the comfort of our home without having to go to a store and shop for somebody. And then, like you said, it'll be delivered between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. the next morning. So,
Yeah. No, that's really good. Yeah. So I just want to put a button on serving as a way to be more intentional with the Advent and Christmas season. So that it's not just about us and what we get, but it's about what Jesus has done in the kingdom of God breaking into the world. So we have that. But I do want to spend some time discussing other types of ways. So let's talk other ways that we can make the most of Advent. So let's talk more specifically about how we can be intentional about preparing for the birth of Jesus, or waiting for the birth of Jesus, or preparing for the second coming, or waiting for the second coming. What are some things that our congregation can do, families can do, individuals can do that can help train them in that preparation or waiting?
or that's like from a kid's perspective, because that's where I live with Sandy a lot and our kids. The first Sunday of Advent, over the Hobby Lobby has just a plethora of great resources. And over the last year, she's accumulated the Advent candle wreath. And so every week for part of the children's sermon, we'll be walking through adding that new candle and talking about what do those things mean. And then we can sit there, and the kids, when they get home, hopefully, parents might put it all together at once to be done with it. But hopefully every week they're spending at least 10 or 15 minutes sitting there, putting that part of that candle together so that, it's just foam and stickers, but sitting there talking about it, engaging their kids in why are we doing this? What is this about? Where does that hope, joy, love, and peace come from? And how do we receive it? And then how can we share it?
Yeah.
So that's just a very simple way. Grandparents, great-grandparents, parents. You can go to Hobby Lobby, any store nowadays, and find really good Christian-based things that will walk you through these Advent seasons.
Yeah.
I think one of the things LCM does that a lot of other churches don't is have our midweek Advent services at noon and in the evening. Not saying we're the only ones in Omaha, but there's not a lot. I think Roman Catholic congregations might, some other Lutheran churches might, but that's just about it. That really gives a time. I can remember as a kid going to the midweek Advent services, and they were just cool because it was at night, and lighting the Advent wreath and really focusing on what that was all about. And so I'd encourage people, if they had not attended midweek services, to do so. If you do it at noon, you can skip lunch and buy into that fasting thing at least for a little bit and worship and And, then the podcasts we're going to be doing are the focus themes for each one of those midweek services. And it's just kind of one additional way of worshiping and hearing about Advent again. So I'd encourage people to consider doing that. It's kind of funny. I was reminiscing when we do Advent worship, lighting the Advent wreath. That's always a unique thing that we do at Advent that we don't do any other time of the year. When we started the West Campus, before we built the building, we were worshiping at Elkhorn Ridge Middle School, and they wanted to have an Advent wreath. Well, the school had a policy of no open flames, so we could not have an Advent wreath, but the Altar Guild figured out how to do it. So they had a banner that had all the Advent candles, and then the flames were Velcro.
Oh, nice.
Each week we Velcro
Nice.
another flame on. So they walked through symbolically that lighting of the Advent candle, even though we couldn't actually light an Advent candle. And Chris and I, we've talked about Christmas Eve, especially 11 o'clock. It'd be really cool if we could do a candlelight service, even if it's the flick on.
Well, or I found out they have I didn't talk to you about this. Yeah, the
glow stick type things.
but they're kind of pricey. But trying to figure out how to get those because at all the services it'd be fun.
I just have a firm believing the fire marshal is asleep at that time, so he won't show up.
I tell you, there's a member of staff that I think I'd be more worried about than the.
She's asleep too. So
She would not be asleep though if we had.
Yeah.
We could probably get away with it 1 year with her being asleep.
Of course, we follow all the laws of the local and federal government on such matters.
Yes.
Thank you, John.
Just for posterity, that was all joking. We do not intend to.
But actually, they do have the breakaway glow sticks. Which
glow stick things.
Considering what is Caesar.
Yes. Yes.
So, and then I think one of the great things people can do is Advent devotionals. So it's, except for those who are deeply involved in theology, where you could just jump into the Bible and do what you need to do. The just simple Advent devotionals, going through those as a family, that's what we've done. And then it's usually pretty concise and always comes with a story, and then you can pray and just focuses you on what you should be focused on in that day. And then if you want to add the next step, want to do next stuff, you can journal and do thoughts for that day, and maybe even think about how this is separate than what you're normally doing, write about how the season should be done. But you can always journal as well. But I think the Advent devotional, we're going to be doing one. You'll be seeing those come out next week or two. But I think just going to find, there's a million of them. Good Advent devotional, and they go all the way to the kids' ones. So go ahead and find you a set of those. That's a good start. Not doing anything.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, another plug for the midweek 7 o'clock service. We're doing the Holden evening prayer, which we don't usually do that service except Advent. Yeah. So it's a really beautiful service. So encourage people to show up.
Yeah,
and the bigger plug is you'll be singing at those.
Well,
you're one of the leaders.
Yes, Kip Tyler as a singer. It's always a big hit. That draws a crowd every time.
I don't know about you, but John and I would detract if we were leading that. So
I'll say nothing else about that. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I like what you guys have said. Because I would agree. I think the Advent wreath is great. We already talked about Advent calendars. Even though oftentimes those are kind of kitschy and even chocolate and toys and that kind of stuff, it does help with the anticipation. You know what I mean? Or the build up to Christmas, right? That every day you're thinking about Christmas and you're building up to it. I think that's really helpful. Yeah, but I guess for me, maybe I'll suggest something a little bit less, here's a one practice you can do. I think what people can do is, actually take a little bit of time before the Advent season, now, and really just begin asking themselves, is what I'm doing during the Christmas season preparing me for Jesus, or is it just keeping me too distracted, right? Because you even mentioned going and looking at Christmas lights. That is a fantastic family activity, and if you're intentional about it, it can be a real great time of connection, and even celebration, right? Because you go to Scooters, get the hot chocolate, go drive around. But I'm sure there are families out there that they're like, oh, we're gonna do this and it's gonna be great, and then it devolves into like an argument. You know what I mean?
Well,
So
I mean, I didn't say it's
no,
perfect. I said usually they're
yeah,
point that somebody in the car is crying.
yeah. So that does.
Stay away from the back to the front, but
Yeah.
usually it's how many times we have to drive around to see the lights again. But
Yes.
I think that's very true.
Yeah.
You have to have that intention of we're going to slow down and this is family time.
Yeah.
Our phones are down,
Yeah.
or we're just using our phones as a glorified camera.
Mm-hmm.
This and that, but yeah, it
Yeah.
has to be very intentional.
Yeah. So I think that's probably what I would encourage people to do the most is just take time to think about all the things that you do, like all the way from like decorations to what kind of gifts you get to family activities to the parties that you have lined up. Just think about all of those things. Don't just do them just because you've always done them, but just ask yourself, is this actually bringing celebration of the birth of Jesus into our family, or is this detracting from what we're doing here, right? Because it's kind of feels like the theme is that it can be good, but it can also be a little challenging, and you just have to do what's right for you and your family, to help you and your family be prepared for the birth of Jesus, to celebrate that. So that would be my encouragement, is like start now, and just like, I mean, if I were to give you specific advice, I would say look through all your decorations and get rid of all the ones you haven't used in a while, Chris.
We use them every year, and we buy more every year. So I am in the midst of an 11. It was a 10-year. Now it's been moved back to an 11-year elaborate plan.
Okay.
So
I will say this. My wife and I don't do a lot of decorations, not because we think they're evil, but just because we're like, this is so much work. We don't want to do this much work.
well, but it's so much fun though. Like when you have the neighborhood kids going down the hill on their scooters or whatever they use nowadays, and they'll stop and they're like, hey, we really like this, or the daycare that's across the street from us. I mean, I have to blow them up specifically one day during the daytime so that they can come over and take pictures. So I will say the sermon series that's been lined out for Christmas and Advent, it's really been challenging me on if there is room for Jesus in the decorations, and you'll see more about that later on my end. But there is an 11-year extremely elaborate plan that it just costs more money than I would have to do it. But
You're gonna be one of those houses we drive to that's got the radio frequency going.
that's the goal.
That's the goal. Okay.
So there's the main yard is all Grinch, right? Grinch blow-ups, and you're going to be able to walk through it one day, and we have a big bay window in the front, and you'll see Max and the Grinch looking down from Mount Crumpet and onto Whoville, and my Christmas village will be Whoville, and then there's a part which I need Jameson's help at some point here. There'll be Christmas music that plays, but at one point in the movie,
Have the Polaroid.
Yes, literally here.
I do, yeah. He said in a message, I forget how it said, trying to look at your notes, lowering decorations or whatever.
Yeah.
Fewer decorations. And I sent him a message that says, what do you mean you don't know the Andersens? And but anyways, the Grinch at one point says, perhaps Christmas doesn't come from a store. Perhaps Christmas means much, much more. And at that point, all the lights will go off. The one nativity will be lit up. There'll be a nativity lit up on the screen, and then Oh Holy Night will come play. And then the Grinch will be out there giving candy canes away, asking people to come to church. And so there is an 11-year elaborate plan.
I love it.
We're in we're starting year 6.
Okay.
And 5, you can still come by, but come
Yeah.
by in 5
more years. Great.
that waiting.
Waiting is great.
Something great to happen.
And you know what, Chris? I do not disparage any of that. I love that for you. And we will come and enjoy it.
We settled the beef.
Yes, that's all.
After you pick up your heart.
After I pick up my hot chocolate from Scooters.
Right on 108
Oh.
Andersen, so it'll still be hot as you come in.
Yeah. There you go. Perfect. I have to tell you guys this story, just because it highlights my wife and I's lifestyle a little bit more. My wife, when we were in college, we had a professor. We both studied ministry and theology, And we had a professor that called my wife an eco-freak weirdo hippie. Like that was just his title for her. And my wife likes to make hot chocolate, but she uses bone broth and heavy whipping cream just to make it a little bit more healthy. So it's kind of a homemade hot chocolate situation. And it's not near as sweet as the Swiss Miss, and that's just like what my kids always would have, and they didn't know any different. And my nephews came over one time, and it was like late fall. We were having a fire outside. This is when we lived in Illinois, and my wife made hot chocolate, and my nephews were like, "Oh, what is this hot chocolate? This is disgusting." Just like they just were not on board for the broth hot chocolate. No, so we will put up our green garland and our Christmas tree and have our bone broth hot chocolate and come see your.
If you guys come over, I'll make sure it's good.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll get the sweets.
Sounds good.
We do have one decoration that's kind of unique. I've used this in sermons over the years. It's a long spike about this long with a red ribbon on it. We hang it in the inside of the tree, trying to tie the death and resurrection with.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
resurrection.
Yeah.
And so especially the older kids, I don't know the grandkids,
Understand.
but
Yeah.
they always check to see if we remembered to put that.
Oh, put that in there.
That's
cool.
John, does your decoration still stay up all year long?
Well, it stays up until the leaves come off, until the leaves begin.
Oh, okay.
And tree in the front.
Yes, and you have that. You have that one tree lit up.
Less famous than any of your stuff.
Yes.
Just because of where my house is, and the people in my neighborhood recognize me and my dog when we walk every day as there's the tree guy.
Tree guy.
Well, it started off with Grace. She cried when I was going to take it down one year when she was really little, and I said, "Fine, it's cold. Not have to convince me not to work."
Mm-hmm.
And said, "I'll just leave it up, and until the leaves come in." Her birthday is in March, so I said, "Fine, I'll leave it till March." So I decorate it right after Thanksgiving, and it stays lit until.
Yeah.
And Anthony Yates, who is someone I used to know in the community, just came up one day and just said, "I love how you proclaim Jesus all year round, all winter long with that tree." Well, for me, it was not. That was not. I just wanted my girl to stop crying. But it turned out to be this whole thing. And so it's decorated simply. That's the only thing I have. It's just decorated there, and it stays up till March, whenever the leaves come in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taken a life of its own. It's got its own personality. That's cool. I think it has its own Snap and Instagram page.
Oh, really?
It's quite a thing.
So Eric will bring over hot chocolate and
Yeah.
bring over some Christmas decorations and
Yeah. And we'll
bring over a spike.
we'll decorate John's house.
Stay off my yard.
Yeah.
So going back to what you said about just kind of thinking and evaluating, I thought of 1 Samuel 3, that passage, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." What if a part of our Advent practice was no phone, no TV, no music, nothing when we wake up in the morning, and we just sit in silence, kind of praying that prayer, and then see what the Lord
Yeah.
reveals to us.
You want to talk about waiting? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't do that well.
Just a
Not first thing in the morning. No. Wow. That'd be a good one. Anything else that you guys want to think about, want to encourage for our congregation?
Nope. Just as someone who is part of the opposite side of this, I'm not upset with businesses. They just do really good job of what they do, and we don't do a good job of saying no to a lot of the
Right.
stuff they do. Okay, so I'm not against that, but you do intentionally have to enter into this time of year. So I just we all pray and hope that we can do that in the ways that we can, and know why we're here and what's excitingly coming, which is what Advent is for, and to intentionally look at how Jesus fits into this time of year, as in every time of the year. So
Yeah. That's great.
One more service thing. You can never go wrong taking young people to a nursing home and singing Christmas carols.
Right.
So you got a lot of people that just forgotten,
Mm-hmm.
and they light up.
Yeah. No, that's good. All right. So now I want to run down, as we close here, a few things that are going on here at the church through the Advent season that are available to our congregation to help them make the most of this time, this Advent season and Christmas season. Kip, could you talk to us about, Chris kind of teased the sermon series. Could you talk to us about the sermon series that we're going to go through during Advent?
The focus is really about, is Jesus in our Christmas, and our preparations as we move toward that, and how we can evaluate the things that we're doing that are devoid of Jesus, and how Jesus might show up in the midst of those, or are there things like you were leaning that might be so distracting, then you might consider saying, yeah, we don't want to do that anymore. So each week we're going to take a different look at different aspects of that and kind of hold that gem up and
Excellent.
at it and evaluate. So
Great. Excellent. Chris, would you give us a rundown of service opportunities and other things like that we might be able to do?
Yeah,
Village, December 21st.
there's that one, Dan Village. Contact Pastor Tyler about that.
Hopefully we'll be getting something as soon as we get
Thanks in the newsletter and all that kind of
This just
stuff.
started. It came as an idea just last week.
Excellent.
So it's
Okay.
pretty fresh.
December 3rd, I believe, is a Wednesday evening. If people want to meet us at Maple Ridge, which is a retirement community, which at one point we always joked that might be a third campus because there were so many there. There's still a handful of individuals that live there that are members of LCM, but we do a once a month church communion service there, and then our youth are going to be going there, playing like Christmas bingo, singing some Christmas carols. Doing some of that with the residents there. That's I think at like 6 or 7. Doing that. December 10th, there's 2 different times. We're going to be heading down to the Abide campus, North 45th Street, to help prepare for the Christmas store. The Christmas store is essentially where parents can come in and shop with dignity for gifts for their kids. There's parking. The only position that I think is officially full is gift wrapping. But there's parking attendants, there's shoppers. I'm signed up to be a shopper with a family member. There's all kinds of spots available. And that'd be on December 13th is Saturday. We'll be back down there doing that. December 21st. That's just a plethora. Angel trees will probably be getting hung up here in the next week or 2. So you can pluck those off.
They tend to go fast.
Yes. I know 2 will be gone on a Saturday night at East. So those will go. Get your Operation Christmas boxes in by a couple Sundays from next Sunday, I think, from now, whatever official date that is. Reach out to a local nonprofit. Reach out to our pantry, Miranda with our pantry. Reach out to the Open Door Mission. Find these places on Facebook or wherever your social stream is, and you can find out any plethora of serving opportunity there can be.
Jane's Coats.
Yeah, Jane's Coats.
Jane's Coats going
I
on.
think that's completed by the time this is done.
Yeah.
But we can start collecting for next year.
We can always grab more coats and so get them down.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we have, by way of kind of services or events for our congregation, and
Isn't there a big one at the the West Campus coming up?
a big what? Is there something happening December 7th? Is that what's going on? Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, we had to call the cops. December 7th, we do have our Living Nativity. So that is a time to celebrate, get told the Christmas story by way of real life people and animals. John worked hard and got our camel that we were needing for that a month or 2 ago. I can't remember when that was. We also have lots of events, lots of stuff going on inside the building as well. So you kind of drive through, you hear the story, and then can come inside to celebrate. We do, as Skip said, have our Wednesday services during Advent at noon and 7. So you can join us. And by the way, those are different services, right? It's not going to, so even if you want to come to noon and 7, you're going to get a different experience at the noon and 7. Same message, different experience. Those are really cool. I hadn't ever experienced or heard of the Holden service till I came here last year, and then got to participate in a couple of those. So that's really cool. Any other things I'm missing?
Living Nativity, they're also doing a nativity walkthrough or a walking.
Yes,
nativity.
yes, that's right.
Or
Thank you.
getting their nativity sets, and then people can see
Yes.
different kinds.
Yeah, if you are part of our congregation, or if you're listening to this, and you have a cool nativity set or a favorite one from your family, we're setting those up in our CLC, that people can go around and see all the different nativity sets. So if you have one, we'd love for you to do that. John, I don't know where they get signed up for all that. Go to our website. I'm sure that they can find lcm.church. You can find all the information. So, yeah. Any other events that I'm missing for Advent? And
We have the Advent devotional coming out.
yes,
Get access to as well.
yeah, sounds good. Is there anything else?
Christmas Eve services
Mm-hmm.
till the cows drop.
Yep,
And,
yep. We have those all day.
and again, a very unusual thing that LCM does, we have a Christmas Day service. We are like one of the few churches in town that celebrates the birth of Jesus on December 25th, which I just find crazy.
They have churches doing it on like the 22nd, 23rd, and
Yeah,
24th.
right, yeah.
But
So cool. All right, guys. Anything else any knowledge you want to drop before we close up? Excellent. All right. Thank you. Thank you guys for hanging out.
Fun.
Yeah, it was fun. So, and thank you all for listening.
I'm really warm in my suit.
I'm sure you are. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You're in the hot seat.
all these treats.
So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, you can go to lcm.church. You can find out all the information of the things we talked about there, or you can download the Church Center app and you'll be able to access our calendar and all of those events. And until then, have a very happy Advent and a Merry Christmas. We'll see you guys later.